Hello. Now, this is another story from Russia about the brutality of war. It's a story about a 12-year-old schoolgirl who killed herself after the death of her father, who went to the war that Putin's Russia has been waging against Ukraine. He enlisted with the Wagner Brigade in order to be able to return to his daughter. And in December, Yevgeny Istomin, a mechanic from Saratov, had a daughter, Dasha, with Olga. He was apprehended with drugs, sentenced to 3 years imprisonment. Meanwhile, the mother, Olga, left Dasha with her grandmother and her aunt, and she abandoned the family. Now, during Yevgeny's time in prison, Olga remarried, and in jail, Yevgeny worked in manufacturing. He sent all his salary to support his daughter. He was a very dutiful father. And the daughter relationship was very good. We understand she has been all his. He'd never left her side. They lounged about together. They talked about everything. He taught her to play video games. They'd bought a console. And in 2019, Yevgeny was sentenced for a second time to 7 years after drugs were found in his car on the way to Voronezh with a friend. A friend of the family vouches that she never saw any sign of any addiction in Yevgeny. He was physically active, sporty. He wasn't big on alcohol, and yet he was sentenced to 7 years in prison. Now, during Dasha's life in the village, her mother came to visit her 3 or 4 times. That's it. Her mother had effectively abandoned her. The grandmother said they're sitting together watching TV, and the child's literally pushing her head up against her mother's chest, crying, wishing Mum would at least hug her. And she replies to her daughter, "Dasha, you're making me uncomfortable." So the man joined up for the war in the Ukraine with the Wagner Brigade in order to get back, in order to get parole, in order to get back to his daughter. He was killed in action on November the 23rd. Dasha, the daughter, didn't go to the funeral. She blamed herself for her father's death. Child safeguarding authorities handed Dasha over to the abusive mother. And her classmates saying, here, quote, her mother didn't want to love her. She beat her. She checked her phone and private messages. She forced her to do all the housework. She frequently left her without dinner. She told us that she beat her very hard. Dasha developed an eating disorder. And on the 15th of May, the girl left a note saying, "I'm dead inside. Nothing but a corpse walking the earth." Her unresponsive body was discovered beneath the apartment block where she'd spent 9 months against her will, staying with her abusive mother and stepfather, both of whom had abandoned her as a toddler. And this is the real human cost of war. It doesn't matter whether somebody is from Ukraine or whether somebody is from Russia. War is a disgrace. And yes, of course, we must do our very best to support Ukraine. But we must also be talking. We have 2 hands, one hand to do one thing and one hand to do the other. The fact that we are supporting Ukraine doesn't mean that we should not be talking with Putin's government. We should be talking. We need to get this war to reach an end as fast as possible because people are dying.